a look now at how we can work with files in our very basic file management. So our copies, deletes, renames of the word. You can see then that I am working in my home directory. Remember, it's that tile in my pad that shows in my prompt that is an indication that I am in my home directory. We want to double check this. We can use pwd to print the working directory. If I go through into my documents directory, we could use the cd command and then we could just go cd doc. Remember, it's going to be an uppercase D. Then I am just going to hit the tab key. We can see then that complete through to documents. Printing pw here or executing the command pwd is going to show me here the complete path through to my documents directory that I am currently in. If I clear the screen, if I want to copy a file, I can use the cp command. To be able to copy a file, I must have the read permission through to the file that I want to copy and the write permission through to the directory that I want to copy it to. If I go through to, let's say, /etc/hostess and then space, and if I use dot, that's just pointing through to the current directory. I am going to copy the hostess file from the server configuration directory through to my local directory, which I am representing by the dot here. If I hit enter, that will have copied. Using ls, remember, that gives me a listing of the contents of my current directory. If I don't put the path through, you can see I have not put any option or argument through. If I want to read that file, I can then just go cat hostess. We can see then that's a copy of my local host file, just a list of IP addresses and host names. Ctrl L will clear that screen. Now if I do something like this, say like cp/etc/pass/w, again I can put just dot, but I can go dot slash and then say pass/w. I am saying copy it through into this directory and call it pass/w. It's not different to what I did before. I just included the file name. If I use ls, we can see both of those files now. When I look at cat and pass/w, we can see that's the password database or the user account database for the system. Ctrl L will clear my screen. What I can also do is nothing stopping me then cp/etc/hostess through to dot slash and then pass/w. But of course I am overwriting that existing file. If I look at cat pass/w, we can see now that my password file, my user account database, contains the host information. In fact, that's exactly the same information that I have in my host file. We can prevent this happening if we want by using, let's say, cp minus, we can use the a as an option to the command. This is then going to take me into interactive mode. If the file exists, if the destination file exists, it will say, do you want to overwrite it? I can choose no, of course. For me, this is already too late. But if I go back up and choose password, remember, I only really need to put the dot at the end and it will maintain the same or original host name. But because it already exists, I am going to choose Y now. So we do overwrite it. cp-a take us into interactive mode. It's only going to prompt us if we are about to overwrite an existing file. Now then we should be back. When I go through and check a log at pass/w, we can see there is my user account database. if I up arrow, okay, and that takes me to my command history, then I can go through and cut out the hostess file. So I am back to two separate files now. If I want to rename these files, I can use mv. Move allows me to move them to different directories, but also to rename them. I can go hostess and then just call it localhostess. Now then I just have the localhostess file. I don't have the original hosts file. Whereas if I use cp localhost through the hostess, I will have both files now. So both the localhost file and the hostess file, we can use also mv. As I said, to move to a different directory, I can move my localhost through to the parent directory. In the parent directory, I am going to look for my desktop and hit enter. Now, when I look at it in this directory, oh, it's gone. Remember, move is renaming or moving it. It takes it out of this directory and plugs in the new directory. We do an ls ... so go up one level to the parent directory. That's what two dots mean. And then in the parent directory, my home directory, we are going to find the desktop directory. And look in the desktop directory, there is my localhost. We can see that we can use move to move or rename files. We can use copy to make copies. In the same way, we can use the option A, switch with both of the commands just to help us get a little bit of warning if we are about to overwrite a file. What we can do is, using the copy command, we're going to say copy star and then through to the parent directory and then desktop. We have made copies of those files, but we have left them here. Oh, do you know what? I am actually need to move them. What we can do here is rm. Then we can go -a just to make sure we don't delete too much. Star. Do I want to remove the hosts file? Yes, I do. Thank you. Do I want to remove the password file? Yes, I do. We can see it was only those two files that got up in our file group of the asterisks. When I go into the desktop directory now, so cd ... and then into my desktop, clear my screen and then run ls. We can see we have got our three files now. If I wanted to go through and let's rm star and then hostess. With this, we are saying we are going to remove any file that ends in host. It could actually be just the hostess file as well, because the asterisk, remember, means 0 or more characters. If we hit enter on this and then use ls, we're just down to the password file. We can start seeing some of the basic of our operations here, using the cp command for copy, the mv command to move or rename, and then we have got the rm command that we can use to remove files. Let's take a look at directories now.